So the game at the weekend was good fun, wasn't it? Sunday night.
For the neutral, maybe. Yeah, not for myself.
Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it when we actually were ahead for the first time towards the end, and then
Precious Tom Brady couldn't come through this time.
For the first time, he couldn't do it. As the saying goes, maybe one too many lives.
Yeah, I did notice you didn't turn up with your Patriots jersey on today.
Needed a wash.
You certainly did.
Oh.
Let's crack on.
Yeah.
So, hello, welcome back to the Under The Floodlights podcast. This is episode 4.
Yeah.
Again, like last week, it's mainly going to be about the Six Nations and football. They're the big two stories every week, pretty much. So we've got a couple of things, and then we've got a surprise guest a little bit later as well. So we're going to start with the Six Nations. Obviously, while we were recording last week, England were playing Italy. Italy? It was Italy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, England playing Italy. They won quite comprehensively. We thought they might do, and they did. So we're now going to preview the big game that's coming up very soon, England versus Wales, which obviously has quite a bit riding on for you and me. You're obviously going off crying home, so you can hide when you lose.
Quietly confident, you know.
You're quietly confident?
I am.
I'm really confident after last week's battering of Italy.
4:45 this Saturday is obviously the kick-off time, and I'm excited because I didn't expect us to be as good as we were against Scotland, and I'm hoping obviously we can take that form into this Saturday's game. Obviously, you did do what I actually said on the podcast. I said it'd be a close game for probably the first 60, and then you run away with it at the end. And that's what happened, really. So it'd be a close game. Obviously, we haven't beat you in the last couple of years since the World Cup. So I think maybe now is the time for change. I think
it'll be a big game, won't it? I think very much so. The winner of that, it will really shape who will go on to win the Six Nations.
I think whoever loses probably won't go on to win it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, I know Ireland's still there, and obviously both teams could lose to Ireland. So I think Ireland are the only other competition then. But yeah, I'm really excited. As I said, I can't wait for the next podcast after we get a victory at Twickenham. Obviously, if you turn up, obviously. That is if you turn up.
I'd like the record to state that we're going to have a formal apology when Wales lose. I want that live on the show.
Everyone expects England to win, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are the better side. So
only over the last couple of years. But
anyway,
we'll see. We'll see.
In terms of the actual game itself,
yes.
How would you line up? Would you keep it fairly similar to the last game? Because obviously you had quite a...
Obviously, as been announced, the only change made has been George North has come onto the bench, which I completely agree with. Obviously, it's harsh on Owen Watkin, but I feel it's the right choice. North brings obviously a wealth of experience and world-class ability off the bench if needed. He can cover 13, which hasn't really gone to plan in past Wales, but it's normally, obviously, it's still a good option to have. I'm just looking forward to, obviously, I'm glad Gatland's stuck with the same starting 15.
Mm-hmm.
I think they all deserve their place after last Saturday, sorry. Everyone deserves the chance to keep the jersey if they've earned it, and I think that's the right way to go about it. And I just feel it's a good platform for us to show England and show the rest of the Six Nations what we are about now and what we can do. And obviously this new style of play we're trying to implement, same as the Scarlet's way, and hopefully it'll be enough to get us over the line. Obviously, what about yourself? Obviously, there has been one big injury to the England camp following last week's game in Ben Youngs. How would you like to see the England side set up?
I haven't actually seen if there is a lineup out at the moment. I'm not sure if the team's been announced. I don't think England have
named this side yet.
I think, similar to Wales, I think England played so well. I mean, I didn't see them play. We were recording. But the result was so positive. I'd be happy if Eddie Jones stuck to a fairly similar side. Obviously, like you said, Ben Youngs is now out. So Danny Care would slip into that position. But other than that, I'd like to see the rest of the team stay the same. Same back, same forwards. James Haskell and Joe Marler are still out suspended. Haskell might change things when he comes back. Might change the back row of the scrum a little bit. But for the time being, if Danny Care comes in, that's I'm fine with that. I feel comfortable that team can go and do the job.
Obviously, Sam Simmons made his debut last week at 8. A very impressive debut, I might add. Obviously, he got a couple of tries, led the team in carries and yardage. How do you feel he went? Do you think that's somebody obviously deserves to keep his place again?
Yeah, it certainly does. Especially considering, the two players that were vying for that number 8 spot were both fresh players. They're both debutants. It's not like he's got to stave off Nathan Hughes or Billy Vanapola now. So if he played as well as he did and he got 2 tries and, got himself on the board, keep the ball rolling. Once you're playing well, what's the point of changing it? So I very much think he should keep his place. But it's nice to know that if he can do that as a Davidson, you never know what Zach Mercer can do. We also have these other talents that can come in if need be. But yeah, no, I'm happy with it. I think Anthony Watson I'm happy with. He played really well. We got a number of tries. It's always nice to get off the board at the Six Nations by getting an awful lot of points on the board. Scoring well and showing that you have this ability to really take yourself into this competition with a bit of seriousness and go on and hopefully win it. So
one thing
I'm
I did
happy.
want to talk about with the England squad, obviously, you might be able to ask me my opinion more on it, but obviously Ben Young's out injured. Call up Richard Wigglesworth, who obviously has been around a long time. He's 34 years of age now. He's been England's third choice for a number of years. They've decided to call him up to replace Ben Youngs. Do you feel he might actually start against Wales because of his kicking ability? And obviously, do you feel he deserved it to have been called up? Obviously, because Dan Robson's been in great form for the Wasps.
I don't think he'll start. I think Danny Kerr will, because Danny Kerr for me is over the last couple of years has very much been someone who maybe is unfairly
criticised.
No, I wouldn't say unfairly. I think he's unfortunate not to start more than he does. I think he's a good player, but he is edged out a little bit by Youngs over the last couple of years. I think he really does have something that he can bring to the team. To me, when I think of Danny Kerr, I don't think of the backup scrum half. So I'd like to see him start. In terms of Wigglesworth, though, I don't know much about the Wasps scrum half, but Wigglesworth has been in the England squad for the last couple of years, so he brings this wealth of experience with him. Obviously, he's played for England multiple times. He knows what it's about. He's been at the Six Nations before. It makes sense in that regard, too, if he's a late call-up because of injury, to pick someone who if is needed can do the business. This is it Dan? You said Dan Robson.
Dan Robson, yeah.
As talented as he could be, if it doesn't work, then you would think, well, why didn't we call up the guy who knows what it's about, knows what he's doing? So it's a safe selection, but it makes the most sense given the situation.
There's a lot of, obviously, a few England fans I've seen call maybe Wigglesworth might start, only for the fact his kicking game is so strong. His box kick is excellent, obviously he does for Saracens. I think that's the call, obviously, Eddie Jones will have to make. It depends what type of game plan he wants to implement against Wales. If he wants to go for more of a kick-in, high game, or if he wants to go for, obviously, a bit more pace around the ruck. So I think I'd agree with you. I'd probably go with Danny Kaye, but obviously you never know with Eddie Jones what he'll decide to go with.
It's nice to have different options if you want to play different play styles.
I agree. Obviously, Wigglesworth does bring that level of experience with him. But looking ahead to the 2019 World Cup, I feel now would have been probably the right time to bring Dan Robson in. Obviously, he's in great form for Wasps, has been for the last couple of years. It'd be nice to have seen him in the England squad because he probably doesn't know what else he can do to get in it.
That's a fair point.
So it'd be nice for him to have made it and obviously try and push his way into Eddie Jones's thoughts heading into next year's World Cup.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. If the Six Nations is a perfect time to really blood players ahead of what will be a big tournament. Either way, I'm feeling quite confident. I'm looking forward to the game. I'm obviously looking forward to giving you some abuse. I have done in previous years, given you abuse before the game had finished and regretted it. So I will be hesitant. In the World Cup, so I will be hesitant this time, but I'll make sure you get your due. Anyway, moving on. Scotland are playing against France. Obviously, it was a poor result for Scotland. They massively underperformed against Wales, and then France had this whole debacle last week against the Irish, and we're unfortunate to lose late on to a Johnny Sexton kick. How are you feeling going into this game? Who do you think are the favourites?
I think you've still got to probably maintain Scotland as the favourites. I know they're still struggling, obviously, with injuries in the front row and a couple more injuries now after last week with McGuigan pulling his hamstring, so he's not out of the game. But France put up a good performance against Ireland last week. It was boring to watch, but a pretty good performance and nearly came away with a victory. So I think that's going to be a close, tight game on the weekend. It could go either way. Scotland do have home advantage, obviously, being at Murrayfield. They still have the quality they possess. Obviously, it didn't happen in the Welsh game for multiple different reasons, but they still have the quality. People know what they can do. Obviously, look at the autumn, what they did to Australia and what they nearly did to New Zealand. So I think I would go with Scotland against France. I feel the French inexperience might cost them. Obviously, away at Scotland, I think Scotland just have too much ability for them. Do you agree with that statement, or would you say France, obviously with the element of never know what French side is going to turn up? Obviously, they are away from home. Do you feel that maybe might?
No, I'd support what you said. Going back to what I said last week, obviously Scotland over the last 12 months have put in some good performances. They beat Australia in the autumn, so I think they have the ability. And we said before, leading up into the Six Nations tournament, that they would be a side probably underestimated by an awful lot of people. Even they're not going to be up there amongst the winners. It's the England, the Wales, the Ireland, but you wouldn't underestimate Scotland as a decent side. And I think the fact they got off to such a poor start, they're certainly going to have a resurgence to come and prove that actually no, that's not who we are. We are a decent side. And France have never been someone who I've looked upon as a strong unit who can go and dominate a team. So yeah, no, I'd certainly be going with Scotland.
Obviously, the final game of the weekend is Ireland against Italy. Surely that's a foregone conclusion. Ireland are at home as well, so do you feel Italy have no chance in that game, or do you feel they can make a surprise upset?
Yeah, I think it's, like you said, a foregone conclusion. Ireland are one of the favourites this year. They are almost every year. They're a great rugby nation. And obviously they showed that they have the guts and the will to win against France, taking it so close to the line, and Johnny Sexton sort of showing what he's about, being able to kick from 45 yards when the clock's already gone past its time limit. So I think they have the ability, they have the experience. It's for me, and if losing to England as they did Italy, I can't see another result other than Ireland winning. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, exactly the same. I think this is an opportunity for Ireland. Obviously, they didn't manage to score any tries against France out there. The French defended exceptionally. I think this could be an opportunity for those to go out there, express themselves, and score a few tries. Obviously, got some good backline with obviously Jacob Stockdale on the one wing, Keith Earls, Robbie Henshaw, Bandiaki. They got plenty of options they could use. Maybe even give Joan Lama his debut, because he's a great young talent. It'd be nice to see him come into the team instead of maybe Rob Carney, give him a rest. So I'm excited to see what Ireland will offer. Second row Ryan had a good game last week on his debut, replacing Devon Tolan in the starting lineup. So it'd be nice to see. Obviously not nice for me to see, but it'd be nice for Irish fans to see
the neutral as well.
Yeah, and for the neutral, for Ireland fans to come out and score some tries, and obviously put on a bit of a performance. Regarding Italy, I think it's an opportunity for them to maybe show teams that they're not just going to be run over.
They're not the whipping boys.
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be difficult for them away, especially away in Ireland. It's always a tough place to go. But if they can obviously stay in the game for 60, 70 minutes, you never know what can happen at the end. But it's going to be a big ask for them. They needed big players to step up, and obviously, hopefully, keep Ireland away from the try line as much as possible. As you can see, we've had to move a few things around to accommodate our first ever guest on the Under the Floodlights podcast. It is our producer, Marcus Stanley. It's a pleasure. Welcome to the show. It's nice to finally see you in front of the camera instead of just behind it.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm good, thank you, Gav. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good.
It's nice to see you on this side of the booth. You obviously spend an awful lot of time in it, setting everything up, and helping us plan the show every week. So it's nice to see you on front of the camera.
As you say, I'm normally on the other side of the glass, but today I thought it'd be better just to have a chat with you boys in here.
Well, before we launch into the football talk, do you want to give yourself an introduction?
Of course. My name's Marcus Stanley. I'm sure you've heard my name. If you haven't, that's what it is. I'm 21 years old. I'm a student at UOG, University of Gloucestershire, and I'm a media production student. So yeah, I just thought, why not get in with the boys this week and get things going, really. Have a nice chat.
It was very much your sort of idea as well, wasn't it, the podcast?
Yeah, basically, it's been sort of my idea for quite a while now to start up a podcast. I thought it'd be a good idea to get these two boys involved. They like a chat, like a debate. So I thought, why not get things going and have a podcast together? I thought it'd be a good idea.
So obviously, one of the main reasons we've got you on today is because it's the second City derby this weekend, Aston Villa against Birmingham City. You are a big Birmingham City fan yourself, season ticket holder.
Yeah.
How are you feeling going into the game? Do you think?
Quietly confident.
Obviously Villa have had a good run at the moment, haven't they? Five wins or 6 wins.
6 wins on the spin, but saying that, we've been on good form as well. I checked the form table just a couple of weeks back or whatnot, or a couple of days ago rather, and I think they're top of the form guide, obviously winning 6 in a row, and we're 4th. So both teams in form.
You've picked up points in your last 6 league games.
Yeah,
I think, so.
Well, it couldn't really get much worse, to be honest. But we've sort of picked up at the right time. We sort of things are clicking now, and I think I'm quietly confident we could get a result. Quietly confident, very quietly confident.
Would you be quietly confident that you can get a win, or is it just nicking a draw.
Or was it being away at Villa Park make you think?
It's a tough place to go. They don't lose there very often, and we don't win away very often. But we haven't won at Villa Park since 2005, so it's a big ask. I'll take a point. I'd be very happy with a point because obviously they're a better side than us. But on the day, anything can happen. Form goes out the window, doesn't it? So
certainly does, yeah.
Obviously, I've been at Villa. I've been at St Andrews the last 2 Tuesday nights for the games. Obviously, Sunderland last week, Huddersfield last night.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think I saw you. No.
Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, mate. Midweek games are a bit difficult to get to these days.
Can't believe you dropped that in.
To be fair to Marcus, he goes to every home and away game. The only 2 games he's missed all season have been the last 2 Tuesday nights.
I missed a few more than that. The odd midweek I'll miss just.
But you never miss a game.
From someone who studies full time at university and does this as well with us every week, it's a hell of a commitment.
Especially when we were absolutely dire.
Yeah. He's there home and away, to be fair to the lads. If you're a Birmingham fan, go follow him on Twitter because at MJS Productions.
MJS_prod.
Follow that if you're a massive Birmingham fan. He's got great football knowledge and he's a good guy to chat about with Blues.
So the other thing we want to know about the game, obviously, what is it like for you personally? Because obviously you go into the game, it's a massive game, not just because you need points to make sure you stay in the division, but also because it's this, big crunch derby.
Of course.
Is it the biggest game of the season? Would you say it's the biggest game of the season?
Definitely, yeah. I'd say so. But me personally as a fan, or fans in general, Birmingham fans in general?
Well, both really. How you see it and how the wider...
The general Birmingham fan, it's absolutely massive. There's not a bigger game. When the fixture list comes out in June, is it? Or July?
Yeah, something around
comes out in July, and it's the first game you're looking for. When do we play Villa? Biggest game. Doesn't really get much bigger than that. But I suppose obviously there's a lot more riding on it now because we need to get ourselves out of trouble. Villa need to carry on winning to stay in that playoff race, and there's a lot more than just bragging rights this time, I think.
Obviously, as I said, I've been the last 2 Tuesdays. Birmingham has shown some good progress, obviously, under Steve Cotterill. Obviously, in the league, unbeaten the last 5-6 games. Beat Wednesday on the weekend as well. Obviously, you were there up there in Sheffield. Do you feel that they're showing a lot of progress? And do you feel there's a lot of confidence heading into the game?
Definitely. That's sort of since the turn of the year, we've started to really hit form. I think we only lost 2 since I think just before January. I think something like that. But yeah, we've definitely hit form. I think there was a lot of changes in the summer. To be honest, we signed I think 14 players in the summer.
Obviously, high Redknapp then as well.
Redknapp at the time, things were looking up. We spent quite a lot of money. Things didn't quite go the way we wanted it to. Results are sort of hard to come by. Wins are hard to come by. Obviously, Redknapp lost his job, but Cottrell's coming. He's had a tough job, really. To be honest, it's only really since, as I say, January that we've started really clicking. But to be honest, it's easy to know why. Well, it's easy to see why that's happened because it's like so many changes. As I say, it's going to take some time for the players to gel and come together. And it feels like we actually really have at this moment in time.
What do you think you need to do then to beat Villa? Because obviously they're having this rich vein of form at the moment. Is there anywhere you think that Birmingham's strengths will play into it, or is it more of a just let's see how it goes, play to?
I'd say let's see how it goes. Really, it's hard to go to Villa Park and win is difficult.
Both clubs got obviously quite a few high quality players. Obviously, they got Robert Snodgrass, who's probably too good for the championship.
Scott Hogan scoring
playing goals. So obviously it's going to be a difficult ask for obviously Birmingham. But like I said, you are in good form yourselves. Jeremy Boger's in form. Sam Gallagher has got 6 goals in his last 8 or 9 games.
Doing really well.
Obviously, you've been able to see most of them, so you can see why. Obviously, both clubs are in form. What will the victory actually mean to you as fans and obviously the club?
Oh, it's absolutely massive. Like as I say, like because of the mess we are in at the minute, or we've just started to come out of that mess. The wins are at a premium, so you need to. A win would be so important. Obviously, you want to win, you want to get the bragging rights and whatnot. But 3 points would be absolutely massive for us on Saturday. Sunday, sorry, on Sunday, absolutely massive.
It's not the only game this weekend that's going to be massive either, is it?
No.
Well, there's also the London derby, North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham. So the Arsenal won 5-1 against Everton.
Yeah,
the weekend. Obviously not my favourite result.
If you want to know his thoughts on that game and Everton's troubles this season, go and watch the episode 3 of the Under The Floodlights podcast, which is on our channel.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll see more moaning in the coming weeks.
Tell you, you'll all enjoy it. You'll all enjoy his little rant.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, Arsenal won 5-1 against Everton. Obviously, that's a massive result for them. It's good to see, Aubameyang, or not good, but Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan finding this nice, partnership again. And then obviously Tottenham had their own tough game against Liverpool, much sterner opposition than we provided. 2-2 draw, some controversial decisions in terms of offsides and penalties and diving and whatnot. But they took a point away from that game. So obviously they're both in reasonable form. They both had a decent result. Who would you be looking at to win this game of the weekend?
Obviously, it goes in. You could say it goes in Tottenham's favour. Obviously, they're at home, they're at Wembley. But Arsenal, I think, since in the new Wembley, I think Arsenal are 8 from 8. Or they've won their last 8 there. So obviously, Arsenal see that as a second on themselves. They seem to win there when they do play there. So I feel they'll be confident heading there, especially with Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan now obviously back together, reunited. Give it Everton a good romp in on the weekend.
Bit of a shafting. So
you never know, they could do the same thing to Spurs. The Spurs obviously are great for themselves. They beat us a midweek a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Obviously drew 2-2 with Liverpool again. Harry Kane, world class striker, scores goals for fun. I just think I won't be surprised if it's a draw. I think both clubs are in form. I think you just see Harry Kane will probably score, and probably Aubameyang will probably score as well. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. Obviously, Marcus, obviously as another derby, do you feel the goals the same way?
It's difficult really. I think both sides really are on sort of decent form at the minute. Arsenal away from home this season haven't been the best, but as you say, their record at Wembley is great. But how much can you take that into account, considering how much it's a different nature of a game, isn't it? A North London derby, not usual surroundings like at Wembley.
It's normally a cup game, isn't it?
Exactly. Against Everton, they looked really, really good. Whether or not that's down to them being good or Everton's, being poor.
Certainly a bit of both, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find that out on Sunday.
As you say, but that sort of connection between Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang, if they can sort of, emulate what they did at Dortmund, then I think Spurs are in trouble.
I think those two could be one of the great Premier League partnerships if they can reignite that.
Well, they've done it before in the past, haven't they?
Exactly. So I think that could be one of the great partnerships to look at there. And if they can get that going at Wembley, then I'd be quite worried for Tottenham's defence.
I'll be looking forward to that game. I think, like we said, Tottenham have the ability. They certainly have people like Harry Kane. Heung-min Son has been fantastic this season.
Christian Eriksen,
Moussa Dembele. Victor Wanyama, if he could put another one of those absolute thunderbolt strikes he put in against Liverpool, against Arsenal, then that was quite something. I enjoyed that one, I'll be honest. I was bigging him up about 2 seconds before he scored that.
It was a brilliant goal, to be honest.
I'll take that. I think they certainly have the ability, but at the moment, like you said, with Arsenal in the form they're in at the moment, quite a comprehensive win. Aaron Ramsey obviously be buoyed after scoring a hat-trick. You think that it will certainly be a tight game, and hopefully one for the neutral will be really entertaining fight.
It all depends which Arsenal turn up. Is it the team that beat Everton 5-1, or is it going to be the team that lost 3-1 to Swansea?
It's very much the story of Arsenal. They're a bit like Liverpool, they're very inconsistent. They can be world beaters on one day and be absolutely awful.
It just shows them Swansea 3-1, then Everton 5-1. That just
in that performance, it just seemed to be like
at the moment, Swansea are better than us, so it's not saying too much. Swansea have beaten Arsenal and Liverpool in the last 2 weeks. When was the last time we beat Liverpool?
Oh.
There we go.
Right, yeah.
As
I was saying, with Arsenal, like Sanchez leaving, really, I think it just seems like it was a massive relief. Like him going out the dressing room and whatnot, all that negativity, like is he going to stay, is he not? He finally went. They brought 2 new players in, and against Everton they looked absolutely ridiculous. So
I agree with that. I think with Alexis Sanchez, it's such a big ego, and I think for a long time people are wondering, is he staying? Is he going to commit? Is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? Where is he going to? Is he going to go for a lot of money, or is he going to go for free in the summer?
Yeah.
In some way, it's nice that Ozil's now signed a contract. We know what's happening with him, and Sanchez is gone. There's no overriding issues or problems or worries or queries. People can just get on with it. Right, we've got our team now. We've got the players we want. Let's crack on. Let's try and get the results that we need. And obviously they did that in quite good fashion against Everton.
Score prediction?
I'm going to go with 1-1. I think Aubameyang will score with Mkhitaryan assist probably, and I think Harry Kane will put the ball in the net as well.
It's a big picture as well, Wembley. I can just see Aubameyang getting in behind and
really gets to use his pace there.
I think Arsenal might nick it. I'm gonna say 2 on Arsenal.
Yeah, I'd be leaning towards Arsenal as well. I think the likes of Davinson Sanchez at the back, he hasn't looked as strong as he could have done in the last couple of weeks, and Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan, this combination they're seemingly striking up, I think they can run riot. I think it could certainly go either way. I wouldn't want to commit too heavily to one side, but I would be leaning towards Arsenal if I was going to go somewhere. Scoreline, I can't tell you. I don't know.
I do want to ask you something, Max, as well. Obviously, both derbies this weekend.
Yeah.
Which is the bigger derby? Obviously, without being biased. Which is the bigger derby? I think it's a topic, obviously, what we want to cover today. Derbies and which derbies are real, which derbies are fake. which are the bigger derbies. And I think this is a good place to start comparing the two derbies this weekend.
So a direct comparison between Spurs Arsenal against Blues Villa. Well, how do you define big? Do you know what I mean? I suppose you've got to say a lot of the time between Blues and Villa, Birmingham and Villa, we're not always in the top flight, especially us. It's rare that these days there is a second city derby in the Premier League. So in terms of bigger coverage, build to be the bigger game, you would say Arsenal or Spurs. But I don't think that there's not a single Blues fan that would say North London derby's a bigger game, because it's all about how much it means to you and stuff like that, I suppose. But
there's also the history that it's steeped in as well. Historically, two clubs, if they don't get along, or the passion in the actual game itself, it all comes into play.
North London derby is proper though. There's a lot of history tied behind that one as well, though, because I think Arsenal wasn't originally a North London club, were they? They moved to North London on Spurs' patch, and for up until the last sort of 3-4 years, they've basically just Spurs have been in Arsenal's shadow, really, haven't they? But yeah, it's difficult to compare really. But Arsenal Spurs is a massive game.
Compared to, obviously, you've always said to us in the past as well, like debate, obviously, which is probably going to come out now. It was said
I'll take this one.
You always said the Merseyside derby isn't a derby.
Yeah, this is something you said before. Yeah. I want to know, put it on record, on camera. Why do you feel that the Merseyside derby is, obviously it is a derby, but you seem to think it's lesser than, say, Manchester Liverpool derby or the
North London
derby,
City derby.
Where does that? Do you still feel that way? And if you do, where does that stem from? What are the thoughts behind that?
My sort of thought process behind that one was that the fact that there's some things you see in a Merseyside derby that you won't see in a second city derby or in a North London derby. The amount of times I've seen Liverpool or an Everton goal at Anfield, for instance, and sat in the Liverpool end will be an Everton fan and celebrating that goal. So Everton fans in opposing ends, Liverpool fans in opposing ends. That sort of thing doesn't
if that
happen.
Would happen
really.
in a second city derby, what would happen?
It's I can't really say on record really, but it wouldn't be very pleasant, put it that way.
But even then, I feel it's difficult because more than any other city in the country, Liverpool and Everton fans are born within the same family. So it's difficult to say, all right, mum and the nipper can go and sit over there, but the dad's going to go over here because of the difference. That's why it's always been that way. But in the same vein, that doesn't happen as much anymore. And on the pitch, there's been more red cards in the Merseyside derby than any other fixture in the Premier League. It's known as the most volatile match because of the way the players play. The players feel the passion on they wear the passion on their sleeves. Fans online, especially, there's so much vitriol going around between Everton fans and Liverpool fans. It's such a big game, but for some reason, to the outside world, it's not felt the same as we feel it. Every time I play Liverpool, I'm absolutely petrified because I know we have an inferiority complex, likely to lose. We can't rush the occasion. At the same time, I hate the Liverpool fans, and I want nothing more than to see us win. And it's something that for some reason people can't seem to grasp outside because of a couple of fans sitting together.
The question I have you as well. Because most, obviously, you'd say Liverpool and Man United's a bigger derby than the Merseyside derby, yeah?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
So I was going to ask, obviously, do you think Liverpool fans see the versus Man United as better, bigger derby than it is versus Everton? Like, do you think they would rather beat United than they would Everton?
I don't know if I think they'd rather beat United than Everton, but I think an awful lot of Liverpool fans would say Man United derby is bigger, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it's because obviously the successes. Man United and Liverpool, the two most successful clubs in this country. Historically, if they want to be the top dog, Man United are currently the top. They've won more trophies than Liverpool have. There's always going to be that contest. But for me, people would say Man United is the bigger derby because that is the threat. There's more competition there. With Everton, it's like your annoying little brother. You kind of brush him aside. I'm more interested in that guy over there, that sort of guy at school that I don't get along with. I'd rather beat him in a competition than my little brother who's just annoying. That's the way Liverpool fans see it. But
that's a good little analogy.
But come off the top of my head. But at the same time, if Everton beat Liverpool, it's so much more annoying for the Liverpool fans, as far as I can gauge from social media and other real life interaction. than it is if Man United beat Liverpool. But is that? It's you have to decide: is that because they're inferior, they come and beat us? It's not fair. Or is that because actually they hate us, but they just palm it off as if, oh, we don't really care what they do?
I think it comes with expectancy, though. I think obviously Liverpool expect to beat Everton, but whereas they wouldn't necessarily expect to beat Man United. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's where that comes from.
So what I was going to say is, obviously, do you feel maybe that's why the Merseyside derby is inferior to, say, the Second City derby, the North London derby, because for Tottenham and Arsenal fans and Birmingham Villa fans, there is no bigger game than those games. Whereas Liverpool fans could see the Man United game as a bigger game than the Everton game. Do you feel that's why it's inferior, as Marcus's point, and why it's not as good and not as big?
Wait. What do you mean exactly?
For example, in the second City derby, for example, there is no bigger game in the season for a Birmingham fan than the Villa game, and same for the Villa fans against Birmingham. Tottenham, Arsenal, exactly the same for those two. Whereas for Liverpool fans, and obviously Liverpool, for example, as a club, they'd see United as a bigger game than Everton. So that's why it's a bigger rivalry.
But I think it depends on the individual Liverpool fan you're talking to. I mean, I can only speak from the Everton point of view, but when I look at the fixtures, for me the most important game is the first game, because I want to make sure we get off to a good start. For 3 years under Roberto Martinez, we drew every single game that we started the season with, and it's not a positive start. I want to win the first game. I want a good first fixture. But then the second game I look for is always Liverpool at home, because that is the game that the fans can get behind. But at the same time, I'm petrified of those games because I know we struggle. I know it's unlikely we're going to win, especially at Anfield. Liverpool, I can't get in the headspace of one of those fans. God forbid I'd get in the headspace of one of their fans. But they ridicule Everton on social media all the time. They constantly talk about them. They always call us bitter. We have more history than you. We won a trophy more recently than you. You talk about us too much. All they do is talk about Everton, or not everyone, obviously, but the vast majority of fans that I've come into contact with. Like, for instance, in the most recent game, this season, they are still to this day talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin's penalty in the league when we played them the first fixture. It was given as a penalty. I thought it was a penalty. An awful lot of people thought it was a penalty. Jurgen Klopp didn't. A lot of the Liverpool fans will still go on about it now. Anything happens that's embarrassing towards our club, we had an AGM, they ridicule the AGM. It's got nothing to do with them as a club. But when do they ridicule Man United about their AGM? When do they ridicule something Man United, something Jose Mourinho said off the pitch? They don't, but they will constantly ridicule what Sam Allardyce says. They'll constantly go for us. And I very much feel like they want to see Man United as the bigger rival, because obviously in terms of competitiveness and success, they are a bigger rival. But the hatred for us is more, because they will always try and put us down, whereas Man United, they don't do that. And it might just be the way I perceive it on social media, the accounts I follow, what I see tweeted and whatnot. But that's always what's come to my head. I've always thought, yes, they want that to be the bigger rival, but we are more important in their kind of mind.
So
I don't know.
Let's compare it to other derbies, say, around the country. Obviously, you've got United City, the Manchester derby. Obviously, I as a United fan myself, I see Liverpool as a bigger derby than the City game. It's only become more recently a bigger game because
that's a fake derby. It's a manufactured derby.
Just because there's many City gone, obviously the successes they are having, that's why it's more of a derby now. But our biggest game is Liverpool, I'd say. Obviously, I'd love to beat City more than anyone except Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool's the game everyone wants to beat, especially obviously comparing successes. Other derbies around the country as well.
Where would you rank the Manchester derby compared to the Merseyside derby?
It should be a bigger derby, but only because of where Man City have come from. Previous to that, Man City weren't in the minds of any Man United fan at all.
Does that not make it a more manufactured derby in the fact?
Not necessarily, because geographically, it's not Man United fans their fault. It's not their fault that they're so big. Do you know what I mean? It's.
What I have Man United fans over the last 15 years really wanted to see Man City lose? Have they ever thought, I hope Man City get battered today, when they're already sitting mid-table or wherever they are, bottom half of the table? They're in the Championship at one point. In the Premier League era, they were in the Championship. I don't feel that was ever really a rivalry. And obviously, you want the local teams around you to not do as well as you do. That's just natural with football. But I never felt that it was a rivalry until Sheikh Mansour took over the club. And then, because they have money, now, hold on, they're a threat to us.
Well, exactly, yeah.
So it seems too manufactured, too recent for it to be like a high-ranking...
I think if you ask any Man City fan that's not been a Man City fan for the last 10 years, but prior to that, I mean, Man United is obviously their massive game, but I think recent times Man United... I think, personally, the most Man United fans would rather beat Man City these days than Liverpool.
Only because of what it means in the league, though. If you took away, say, points and success, if it was just
But
a
not
game,
because
who would you rather beat? Just if you took away the outside points of it, say it was in a cup final, it'd be Liverpool.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I think
actually,
that's where it would be. I think it's only because they are main competitors in the league now.
that's a
and
good
Liverpool
point.
isn't.
I'd like to use that for the Everton one as well. I think if Liverpool, for Liverpool's perspective, the feeling I get is that if there was no points on offer, if it was just bragging rights, they would always rather beat us than you. That's what I get anyway. There's no points because obviously they want to be more successful than you do, but they just want to beat us. That's what I always get anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously doesn't agree with that one.
No, I don't agree with you, but
Why don't you agree? Let's have a bit of debate.
It's always down to geography though, because West Brom, we have no rivalry at all with West Brom. Literally nothing. Like I've sat in a ground against West Brom, and the whole ground will sing a chant against Villa or whatnot. But that wouldn't happen with any other club. Like West Brom are literally down the road from us. I think they're not even 20 minutes down the road. Not even that, I don't think. But we have no rivalry at all. Where I suppose it's slightly strange, that one, really, because when you think of like rivalries, they're normally geographical. Like closest, like obviously Liverpool, Everton, like separated by what, a park, like not even.
Yeah, same as obviously
Second
Arsenal, Spurs.
Second closest,
yeah,
geographically in the country. Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose you're right. Though. It's not always based on that. I suppose it's down to the fan, isn't it? Really, what they think, like individually.
I just think Liverpool fans would, but just because obviously, I know I said obviously it could sound like a bit of a hypocrite, obviously saying obviously we'd rather beat Liverpool because of the success.
Yeah,
Obviously, only City now is obviously being compared. Obviously, facing City now has only become a bigger derby because obviously we're challenging each other for the title, and obviously year in year out this is becoming a similar thing. But overall, we'd rather beat Liverpool obviously if we took away the points and stuff, and if it was just cup final. And I feel obviously you use that for obviously Everton, but I feel Liverpool fans would still rather beat United.
But why though? Why? Because the only reason they want to beat Man United.
It's a bigger achievement. Yeah.
No, but the only reason they want to beat Man United. I think the only reason they want to beat Man United is because it's the competition for who's the most successful. Now, if you're taking any successes out of that, if it's just ego, that's all it is. It's just ego and one-upmanship. I think they'd rather beat us than they would, because yes, they can go, great, we beat Man United. It doesn't do anything to them. It doesn't gain them anything. They're not gaining any points, any successes, any leeway over where Man United are in the league table. Nothing. It's
they're gaining the bragging rights over us, though. And that's the.
But I don't think they care about the bragging rights as much as they care about the bragging rights over us. Because in my opinion, I think they compete with you for success. They compete with us for reputation. They want us to be the little brother or whatever. For you, it's the fact that you're got more trophies.
What I will say is, Liverpool fans or any other fans, let us know on Twitter at UTF_podcast or on our personal accounts, or even let us know in the comment section down below what you think's the bigger derby and what do you think's.
I've got plenty of time to swat any Liverpool fans away, so feel free to come after me.
Hopefully we'll decide to take
Cuffwright, CUFFWRITES.
Hopefully Laurie will take that challenge up and take him on with that on Twitter. Just let us know what you all think and what's bigger derby, what derbies are bigger for your club, and how you'd compare them to others. Obviously, the biggest derby I think in Britain we'd all agree is the Old Firm, though.
Not just Britain. I think that's the biggest derby in
would you
the
go
whole
that
of the world.
far? Would you?
The Old Firm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't quite go.
Would you say because obviously because of religion and everything in it as well?
I wouldn't go across the continent. I wouldn't go that far.
Well, there's big ones, aren't there? There's Galatasaray, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce.
I was going to say Partizan and Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah, that looks a lot. That looks really fierce. It's all the flares and stuff like that. It's made up to be a lot bigger. I think. But there's the context behind. I suppose
you're judging that based on violence, aren't you?
Yeah, the context behind Rangers Celtic is it's like no other derby.
It's religion as well, isn't it?
I don't think any rivalry compares with that one. I think that it's got to be the most historic. It's got to be one of the most famous in the world. But for me personally, I think that is the biggest derby in the world.
I completely agree.
I don't think anyone could criticise you for thinking so. If they didn't agree, it's certainly one of the biggest. It's always up there for everyone. But yeah, that's about it. We've got to talk about.
Covered a little debate for this. We've
used the derby. We've used the word derby about 100 times in the space of 10 minutes.
It's nice to have a bit of debate on that. Nice little chat.
Obviously,
we've got a couple of other sports stories to cover just at the end.
To be honest,
obviously, former Everton you gonna let me speak?
Yeah.
Or?
Sorry, Cuff.
Former Everton manager Ronald Koeman was appointed the manager of the Netherlands yesterday.
Yeah. 4.5-year deal.
Well, what are your thoughts on that? Because it's the second time Everton in recent years have sacked the manager, and then he's gone on to get arguably a more prestigious job. Obviously, Roberto
Both internationally as well.
Roberto Martinez went to Belgium, which was mind blowing. Not quite.
He's done a good job though. He's
Yeah,
obviously done
yeah,
the
but I mean,
first club to
Yeah,
first country to qualify
when
for
you
it.
have the
got.
likes of Eden Hazard and all
De
these other
Bruyne,
players, you know,
Lukaku.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess he should be really. But,
exactly. I mean, he has the ability to have a squad that does not include Raja Nainggolan, and that is unbelievable because he'd walk into the starting 11 of most nations, but he doesn't even make the squad. So, you know, it's an awful lot easier. But this makes more sense. Obviously, Ronald Koeman is a legend in Holland playing for Ajax. He's the only man. He's the only player ever to win the league title with all three major clubs: Feyenoord, PSV, and Ajax. Not all as player, some as manager, but and obviously he's a legendary player in his own right. So it makes sense, I suppose, with the likes of Danny Blind taking up the role before. He didn't do so well. Who was it recently? Was it Goose Hiddink recently?
I think Gus Hiddink was sort of like interim, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Danny Blind was the last permanent when they had, and obviously before that they had Van Gaal. So
and obviously they're trying to usher in this new era because they failed to qualify for the World Cup, and they're obviously a major nation. To not qualify is ridiculous. So, do you think it's a good move, or
I feel
for
it's
him,
good.
or for the nation?
You got to look at it as obviously the Netherlands seem to like to appoint people from their own country, same as most countries would like to do.
Preferably, yeah.
Obviously Wales have we had Coleman and Speed, and obviously now we got Giggs.
English, any Giggs?
No, he's
Is he not? Oh, right, carry on.
But yes,
They've already got enough of them in
you can't blame the Netherlands for
Well,
trying to point from obviously within the people who would be more passionate about the country and do well. But obviously in recent times they haven't been as successful as they would like since they reached the World Cup final. Obviously they failed to make the World Cup this summer in Russia. So I feel it could be a good appointment because he is a good manager. Obviously shown that Southampton. It didn't work out for him as well as he'd like Everton. Obviously after a good season finishing 7th. He changed a lot and it didn't work out. But I think it's a good appointment for the Netherlands. I think he's a good manager and I think he'll get him back to where they should be, qualifying for major tournaments. And I feel that's how he'll do. I think he'll do well there.
Do you think it's interesting that he's taken this job, but in the process he's rejected an awful lot of club managerial positions? I'm not sure what he got across the continent, but I know for a fact he was offered the job by West Ham, by West Brom. I think Swansea were interested. All of these were turned down. Premier League jobs, so they're all prestigious. And he's taken on a national job instead. Do you think that is a sign of where he sees his future going as a manager?
Well, I don't think it's that surprising, really. I think as a Dutchman, that has got to be the pinnacle, really, hasn't it? If you ask any manager, English manager, the England job, he's better than any other job. So the fact that he's turned down West Ham, other jobs in club football isn't that surprising when you feel that. When you realise that the Holland job is up for grabs, really. But. It's a good appointment, but realistically, I don't think their squad isn't good enough to. Well, he wasn't good enough to qualify at all. The likes of Van Persie, Schneider, they sort of move on. Robben's coming to the end.
Yeah,
of his
they do very much rely on the older. Yeah.
That's the thing. The sort of new crop of players, really. It's going to be difficult for Koeman to sort of turn it around, but I think he can.
I think it's a challenge he's looking forward to because he did at Southampton and everything. Tried bringing in youngsters, and at the moment that's what he's got to kind of do. Really, he's got to try and make these youngsters in the Netherlands good enough. With, like I said, the old guard leaving. And on the point you said, obviously it's pinnacle for Dutch managers, obviously to manage the national team. I think if it was any other country, he probably wouldn't have took it. I think he probably would have accepted club football.
Does it? So what I want to know is does the managerial position at an international level, does that hinder your potential to get a top job at club level? Because he's stated before that his ultimate aim is to be Barcelona manager. Obviously a legendary player at Barcelona. He loves the club loves him. It's the perfect relationship. But obviously when he was at Everton, he had not yet proven that he was the right calibre to take that job. Do you think that in that kind of scale, let's say he's here at Everton and he's trying to get up here to Barcelona, do you think that taking an international job where you're not doing the week in, week out minutiae roles that you would do as a club manager, is that a step backwards, or would you still see it as a step up or a step to the side?
Look at Louis van Gaal. Look the job he got after the Netherlands job.
Yeah.
Manchester United, probably the biggest club, probably the best managerial position you could have.
But Man United were in a difficult position. Obviously, after David Moyes, he'd left them in a precarious situation. They were looking for any high-profile manager, and he'd already had those big jobs before that.
But we still could have got someone else if we wanted. I think if you're good, it's always the fact that if you're good enough, then you'll go far.
For instance,
I think if he does well at the Netherlands now, say he does qualify for the Euros, and then maybe the next World Cup, if he does stay obviously that long, then obviously if you want to get back into club football, I'm sure there'll be plenty of clubs willing to take him
I find
on.
it interesting that, for instance, when Everton were in the period between Koeman and Martinez, we were linked with Joachim Löw of Germany. Obviously, he's won the World Cup twice. Twice? Not twice.
No.
The World Cup
Once.
and the Euros.
Yeah.
World Cup in
So
Euros?
in that sense, was it Euros?
No, they didn't win the Euros. He just won the World Cup.
He won
World Cup in 2014.
Yeah, that's all they've done.
He won the 2016 Euros.
Portugal.
Portugal, yeah.
Of course he did, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's won the World Cup. He's obviously done amazing things with Germany as a squad. They're fantastic, but they do have good players. And an awful lot of Everton fans were a bit hesitant to appoint someone like him, thinking on a club level he hasn't really proven that he can do it. So I don't know what the point is here. I think it's interesting where international management stands on the level of how you're progressing
You
as a
see them
manager.
as pinnacle jobs.
I think
it's just difficult.
for Ronald Koeman, surely the Netherlands international job is bigger than the Barcelona job.
If you're a manager,
Surely.
what would be your dream job?
Well, but to be fair,
my
My
dream-
dream, my,
Other
my,
than your
my,
club, other
my
than your
dream
club.
my dream job would be Everton over
Other than
England.
your club.
Really?
Other than your club.
Yeah, really over England. Yeah,
Other than your club, what would be your biggest job?
or England.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as an Englishman though, but obviously you'd rather you'd rather be the Welsh manager?
Well,
than
that's
England.
it's difficult. You'd obviously rather be a club manager, obviously because you love your club. Everyone loves their own club, but other than your club, it's going to be your national team.
Yeah.
So if you get an opportunity to manage your national team,
It's a bigger honour, definitely, to manage your nation's
it also
football
depends
side.
on where your national team is
But
compared
then
to
when you
your club.
compare it to Barcelona, the biggest club in the world,
Right.
Man
Well, it depends
United,
on
Man
Koeman's
United are
stance,
arguably the biggest club in the world, but in the last 10 years, the biggest club in the world have been Barcelona.
Yeah.
It's a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it's. I think
I don't think he'd be good enough to manage Barcelona.
that's-
Certainly not now, but that's what I'm asking. If he did a really good job with Holland, let's say they qualify for the next World Cup, for the Euro, sorry, he did a really good job of turning the side around. Does that legitimise him as a manager in the point where he can get that bigger job, or do you still want him to go to a club after that and prove he can do it at a club level? Because that's what I'd want personally. If you're going to take a job that high,
Well, this,
I don't know what the
this
answer is
reminds
here.
me-
but
Another big
it's
comparison.
similar to Chris Coleman though. Really, he did an amazing
That's a
job
good
for
point.
Wales.
It's a good point.
He didn't look at him now at Sunderland, but realistically, what he was walking into at Sunderland it's an absolute mess. To be honest, he should never have took that job.
But wasn't there
Never
writing on
took
the
that
wall
job.
that he didn't get a Premier League job? Well, there are offers there.
But
yeah, apparently there was offers there.
There was
but
offers there, but realistically, but how much is down to his management though? Because really, when you've got a world-class player in Gareth Bale, obviously a manager's.
And also,
If you look at the
also when you walk
statistics-
into Sunderland are very poor. Their
Oh,
squad, their squad is
they're
one of the worst.
When I went to the stadium, like just a couple of days before Christmas, we drew 1-1. I'm not sure how we didn't win that game. They are the worst side I've seen in this division.
Yeah, I was there last week at St Andrews, and honestly, they were dreadful. It was 3-0 up in the first hour.
You worry
and
for them really because it's all about investment, isn't it? In this sort of division, like you can't get relegated and not invest enough in your squad to make sure you don't get back up. And their owners, whether they got money or not, just haven't invested, and that's why they're in the mess they have. But going back to Chris Coleman and the international management, he should never have left that Welsh job for Sunderland. Massive mistake. You should never do it.
I think the only thing you've got to compare is how big the national job you get offered is to the club jobs you get offered. So, for example, you say Barcelona with Ronald Koeman and obviously the Netherlands. To him, surely the Netherlands is a bigger job because he's a Dutch. But if you're in Dutch, then obviously the Barcelona job's bigger than the Netherlands job. It all depends on.
To him on a personal level, but in terms of the wider football culture, Barcelona is probably the ultimate job he can get at the moment.
Perhaps, yeah. It's debatable, but it's in the
What
top.
I mean is, they are the biggest club in the world at this moment in time. What are the jobs bigger? What job would you say is bigger
Real
than
Madrid,
Barcelona?
probably.
Man United.
Real Madrid,
say
I think
Real
Real
Madrid?
Madrid shades Barcelona.
I don't think Real Madrid comes close to Barcelona.
I think
Oh, it does. It's
Real Madrid.
nearly everything is ahead of Barcelona. Nearly everything.
I don't think so.
Revenue.
Not anymore.
players.
Yeah, maybe that. But I think Barcelona are still seen it as the club. You go to a country in the middle of nowhere or whatever in Eastern Europe or something like that, and there'll be kids that have Messi shirts on. How often do you see these videos online of
kids with Ronaldo shirts?
Real
Madrid. For me, Real Madrid shades Barcelona. I think Man United probably shade both. To be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think Man United do
on
anymore.
a world scale.
I don't think Man United do anymore.
If we want to go globally, obviously we are the number one club, obviously fans-wise and also revenue-wise, we're number one. Real Madrid is a
super clubs, aren't they? The three super clubs.
If you get the option to join Real Madrid or Barcelona, I feel more people will choose Real Madrid because being a Galactico is different.
I think if you were to offer 17-year-old, 18-year-old kids, maybe even younger, 15, 16-year-old kids in this country, France and Germany, people like that, you have those three clubs. Who would you sign for? I think no, all the same wage.
All the same wage.
You won't be a regular starter, but you make your way into the team. I think more than half would pick Barcelona.
I disagree.
It's all their opinions, but I think they have that pull that no other club does.
More guaranteed minutes, Barcelona obviously they do.
No, that's what I'm saying. All exactly the same. I think more. It's all personal opinions, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think more people would pick Barcelona because of their name, their prestige, what they represent.
I feel Real Madrid would have been probably the most.
I think Real Madrid attract more because of the money they offer. I don't think they
just the size of the club, the stadium, the size of
I
everything.
don't think they attract more as a club than Barcelona do.
They do.
But anyway, that was an awfully long conversation about something we didn't actually plan on talking about.
It was just mainly Ronald Koeman about it. Yeah. So it's good to have a little debate though.
The last thing we've got is just a little brief transfer story we saw this morning. Obviously, Patrice Evra has signed for West Ham.
Manchester United legend.
Free agent after being released by Marseille after having a very controversial situation earlier on in the season. He was banned from European competition, but he can still play club football. So he's joined West Ham. Everton were interested. He picked London over Liverpool, which an awful lot of players do. Good signing?
Depends how good he is now. He's 34 years of age now. He's getting on. Obviously, got Zabaleta on the other side as well, who was also getting on. If this was obviously 2010, you're thinking they got the best fullbacks in the league, but sadly it's 2018.
I don't think he'll get ahead in the side above Masuaku or Cresswell. I think both of them are better left backs.
Does that beg the question then why they signed him?
Well, unless there's been injuries that I'm not aware of. But
the thing is, it depends how good Evra is right now. Obviously, we haven't seen him in a couple of years now since obviously being United, and we got to watch him at Marseille.
Even last year, he was with Juventus though, who got to the who did well both continentally and domestically.
So he seems to be still doing all right. So we'll see when he starts playing. We'll see what levels he's at. If he can regain a little bit of form, obviously he's not going to be as good as he was when he was at United. But if he can get some form, then obviously it'd be a good signing for West Ham.
He's not going to be playing week in, week out.
No,
you've already said the two fullbacks ahead of him and his age as well.
I got a feeling. I think David Moyes ain't happy with Masuaku. Though obviously got sent off spitting, so I think maybe he'll go above Masuaku in the pecking order.
He's impressed me though, recently.
Maybe
I agree with you with
that could be part of
form,
what it is then.
Because obviously spat and he got sent off. He's banned for 5 games. I think
maybe that's what it is. I think
that's
a short-term deal must be.
So I think this is the end of the season.
Either that or David Moyes has maybe had. Obviously, this is all speculation, but maybe he had a set to with him after the game. Maybe he spoke about the incident. Masuaku didn't agree with David Moyes' assessment of it.
It's hard to tell till he comes back from his ban to see if Masuaku's out of favour or not. But at the moment, it looked like it could be. I think Evra, if he gets at least a little bit of form from obviously his spell at Juventus and United, then he could be a good signing for West Ham.
I'd agree.
That's all I got.
So, obviously, we'd like to say thank you for Marcus being our first guest.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've
enjoyed it, boys.
As we say every week, you do an awful lot for us outside of this recording studio, so it's nice to have you in the studio for an episode, and hopefully you come back again multiple times.
Hopefully you'll be back on in future. Hopefully we'll have other guests as well in future. That's all for this week's podcast. If you said anything you want to debate with us, use our socials which are in the description.
All the socials down below.
All personal ones, and obviously the UTF. Let us know in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree with anything that's been said. So yeah, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.